Hello, so it is a lovely sunny Saturday afternoon here in the West Midlands, and I thought it was probably quite a good idea to have a go at the car for the first time. So we've managed to get it out of the garage, which is empty for the first time in a while. It looks a little bit of a state in there, with the car being sat there dropping rust all over the garage for quite some time. Thank you for the response to the last blog. It's been amazing. It's prompted some really good conversations and some interesting projects as well, which I've been talking to a few people about, and hopefully I'll be able to share a little bit of information about that in the coming weeks. But I did get a few requests for a bit of a look around the car, and so as we've got it out today to start to do some of the work on it and start to take it apart and catalogue all of the bits that we've got, I thought it was probably worthwhile giving you a look around it before it starts to look quite unrecognisable. I'll spin the camera around so that you can see what we're doing. This is what she currently looks like. So from a distance, actually not too bad, but kind of when you get up close and personal, it gets a little bit frightening when you start investigating some of the panels. So let's give you a little bit of a closer look round inside, under the bonnet and the boot. I'll poke you into some of the little nooks and crannies around the car as well, just so that you can see what kind of deterioration it suffered while it's been standing in that garden for so long. So as I said, not too bad from a distance, but when you start to look a little bit closer, you can see the paint is all blistered and bubbling. It's got some quite significant rust going on underneath this paint, and you can see it all starting to flake off here. Chrome, very pitted, tarnished, needs a complete re-chrome. Looking very worse for wear now, in fairness. These wing mirrors, they need to come off. So they're non-standard wing mirrors. My granddad put these on, I think it's sometime in the mid-80s. But Wyverns should not have wing mirrors. So I'm gonna probably should have something, certainly when I'm driving it in modern traffic in the future. But these kind of embellishments wouldn't have been standard on a Wyvern, and I want to try and get it looking as austere and standard as possible. Looking down the side of the car, so you can see the trim strips are barely hanging on. They're seriously corroded underneath as well, so they're off the car on the other side, and they're very, very rusty, almost rusted through. Bottoms of the doors, quite a lot of filler down here, so there's these huge sort of flakes of filler where the car's been restored in the past. That used to be the jacking point there. That was one of the first things that Rob and I looked at when we were having a mooch at the car in the garden. But the sills are completely shut. I mean, you can just see how much rust is falling out when I do that. Bottoms of the doors as well, all gone. All of that sill as well. So I actually managed to find a set of new sills that came from the Vauxhall Club. So we've got those in the garage, which is quite helpful. But yeah, the underside of the car and the bottoms of all of the panels has really suffered from being sort of standing still for so long. Amazingly, the tyres are still quite well inflated. Paint on the boot seems to have had this bizarre crazing effect going on, so I'm constantly finding flakes of 2-pack paint everywhere. There's obviously been some damp down this side of the car, more so than anywhere else, because there's some significant rusting to the chrome and to the underside of the body on this side of the car. So this is the near side rear. Again, rubber's missing, sills disintegrating, whacking great big hole there. I mean, this metal is literally paper thin. Well, it's not even metal anymore, it's just rust. This is where those lovely wing badges should be. So there was one on this side, although it's it had been ground back, so it's got no pins on it and it just been glued on. So I've got some originals, and when we've refurbished these panels, we'll put the holes back in and pin the badging on properly. So yeah, looking a bit shabby. So under the bonnet, there's the front of the car with that famous missing X that I've managed to now track down. Grandad's badge bar, which I think I'm probably going to keep on the car just from a nostalgic sort of perspective. The auxiliary driving lights though, again, were another addition that my granddad made, depending on what I can do with the headlights in the future, or depends whether I do or don't keep those. And this is that little 1500cc square engine shared with a Bedford CA van. Not particularly powerful, not particularly big either, which is probably a good thing, so there's plenty of room to work. That system there, this box and tubing section, is the heater, which was an option. So cars didn't come with heaters or radios or cigarette lighters or even carpets and things like that. And back in the 50s, everything was optional. This was one of the options that was fitted to the car, so we've got the original bill of sale for the car, and even the tag actually that went from the heater controls inside the car to say that it had been fitted. So that is an original Vauxhall heater, but all complete and intact, just looking a little bit crusty. Plan will be to get the engine out, and whilst the body's off, having quite a lot of new metal put into it at probably great expense, I want to get the engine fully serviced and running myself and refurbished. Battery's off. I've taken the battery off. I've not even bothered to try to fit a new battery because I've no idea what condition the cables are in, and the last thing I want to do is set the thing on fire. So that's under the bonnet. Inside, now this is probably the best bit of the car. I'll take you in through the rear so that we can get a bit of a better look at that beautiful dashboard. So you can see the dashboard itself is kind of symmetrical, which made it much easier to convert the car from left to right hand drive in production, but all intact. Radio blanking plate in the middle there with that beautiful Vauxhall moniker. That is where the stereo would have gone had it been either fitted as an option or if this were a higher spec Cresta model. The clock actually wouldn't have been in this car. That is an option. I don't know yet whether this is an original clock, and anyone from the Vauxhall Club, if they can tell me whether this is one of the original Vauxhall clocks, or whether this is one that's been added in at a later date. I'm completely unsure, but I quite like it. I remember it being in the car. Odometer there showing 11,298 miles. It's actually 111,298. So we've got that picture of it turning over 100,000 miles. So let's have a little bit of a look elsewhere in the interior. Right, so this is inside on the driver's side. Now this window here, you can see we've actually already started to take some of the bits off it, but the mechanism for this window didn't work. It didn't work when I remember the car back in sort of the early 90s, and my granddad used to have a little wooden peg that he would stick in there to keep the window shut. Well, it's obvious that that's dropped and started to let water in the car while it was in the garden, which ran all the way down the inside of the door, completely screwed up that which is the door card, and then has eaten through quite a lot of the floor. So down here you can just see it is all rust, and that is the drive that you're looking at through the floor of the car. So it's got a bit of a Flintstones thing going on at the moment. Similarly, all down here, bottom of the A panel. So this is quite a big sort of structural point in the car, and again, that's daylight that you can see through the wheel arch into the car. So again, an awful lot of work, fabrication, metal work needed to get this roadworthy again. And this is like serious structural stuff. So while it looks reasonably okay from the outside, under the skin there's quite a lot that needs to be done. Lovely big Bakelite wheel, but all starting to crack and perish now, so that's going to need some work to get it back to scratch again. This leather cover was added much later on, again to stop all of the powdery Bakelite from getting all over your hands. Ideally I'd like to take that off and have it recast. Again, not a cheap thing. Lovely faux orange air freshener there, which I always remember Grandad having. Sadly it's not smelling very citrusy anymore, but I kept it there just for nostalgic purposes. That is the heater controls. This is what would have controlled the heater, or still do control the heater, all the linkage works. So that is an option that wouldn't have been standard on a Wyvern. Glove box, that when I opened it still contained, well, still has got some of my Grandad's business cards in from the business that he used to run. It's not there anymore, it's been turned into houses, but it's still in there. Pens and stuff from years gone by. Even the tax disc holder as well is one of his tax discs. And last taxed 2006. I think it was taken off the road before then. That was when the last tax disc expired, so that was the last time it was on the road. Controls wise, so they used to market this car as seating for 5 or 6, and you can see from the big bench seat you can sit 3 comfortably at the front, but in order to do that, gear stick is up here on the column, so, or on the tree as people sometimes say. So you've got a 3-speed gearbox on the column here, with a H pattern, so reverse and then 3 forward gears, and indicators as well. So this one doesn't have trafficators or anything like that. This has actual indicators on it, which was again one of the later E-series editions, this one being a 1956 car. So, but the interior is remarkably intact. So the glass, the clocks, all of these fixtures and fittings, they're super rare. So actually, if the car was missing this, or if this had deteriorated to the point that it was unsalvageable, it probably would have made the project non-viable. So as things stand today, the big E is the bodywork. You see quite a lot of space in the back as well. It's easy to understand why this car ended up getting used as a bit of a taxi and a run around in a family wagon. Really quite a big car. Then here in the boot, again, lots of nostalgic stuff from back when my Grandad had it, including a fire extinguisher that's probably not going to put out much in the way of a fire now. Little shelf at the top there of the boot with parts and tools on. Polish, which there's not much point in polishing anything anymore, but this car was once gleaming and frequently taken to shows, and some of the stuff in there was the fluids and the mechanical bits and pieces that were needed to keep this car running. Amazing little fuel filler cap. Love this system. So it's keyless, just a little disc in the bodywork, and if you push the back of it, it just pops open, and then you shut it again. So it's quite a nice little mechanical. The inner geek in me really likes that. Glad it still works as well. So that's that. Loads of chrome work as well, which is all going to need quite a lot of work. This trim strip here actually came up in my hand when I was pushing the car out of the NEC. So this is a big rear window model as well, so it's got the wraparound glass. Obviously the slightly earlier ones, the 55 models, had the smaller, sort of more oval topped window, or arch-shaped window, I guess. But this one, which I quite like, it looks more stylish and more 50s with the narrow C-pillars and the little bits of additional chrome. Not as much chrome on the crest and the Wyvern as there was on the Cresta, so you can see the body rubbing strips at the side were painted black. Not as much chrome around the windows. Much less chrome on the front as well, so you get things like speedbirds and wing toppers on higher spec cars. Didn't get any of that on the Wyvern. And also, as well as I mentioned, I think in a previous post, the grille So the outer edges of the grille here around the indicators and under the Vauxhall lettering is all body coloured on the Wyvern, which that's all chrome on the higher spec models. But again, I quite like the austere look of the car. So that's that. We've got quite a little collection of stuff to help us take the car apart. So lots of boxes, lots of bags, string, Sharpie markers, so that we can start to catalogue all of the bits that are coming off the car. Keep everything in the right order. Obviously going to be taking plenty of photographs as well. I've got the lovely Lee helping me today as well. So Lee has come over in this, which is his beautiful Mine 1000. This is Flora. Can only hope that one day the Wyvern is in as nice a nick as Flora, but you'll have seen us out in two Moggies actually. We've got Flora and Moggy M as well, the green Mine 1000 as well, which is also a 3-door saloon, belongs to Rob, I mentioned a little bit earlier on. But both fab little cars, looking very pretty, but no doubt dropping oil all over the drive as we speak, but something we're going to have to get used to. And the GP sat in the corner as well, out of the way for the time being. Sadly, that's going to have to go at some stage in the not too distant future to try and deal with all of this. But yeah, the sentimental value attached to this is immense, so it'll be worth it in the end. But that's a little bit of a look around Bess, so thank you for watching. There'll be some more photographs and some updates of today, and hopefully at the end you'll notice a little bit of a difference. She might not be looking quite as complete as this. This might be the last time that we see her actually looking as recognisably as a car. So 1st of June, and it really feels like the beginning of the next chapter. So stay tuned. I'll do more vlogs and more blogs in the coming weeks and months. Let you know how we're getting on. If you know anyone that you think might be able to help, anyone that's got parts, anyone that's worked on these cars in the past, anyone that could work on these cars in the future and is willing to help out, then please do get in touch. You can use the contact page on the website, or alternatively the inbox features on all of our social messaging. It's at blackbess56 on Instagram, or obviously the Facebook page is linked at the bottom of the blog as well. So until next time, thank you very much. I'll speak to you soon.